And David, you're a student journalist. And you're writing in school,
Yes.
and which is incredibly helpful because you're observing everything. Did you know the shooter? And if you did not, do you know people who knew him, and what were their observations about him?
Yes, I did not know the shooter personally, but I know many people that did know him. What they have said, what I've heard about him, is that he was a person that was very offset, kind of awkward. Many people have interesting stories about him that were really quite awkward from their time in middle school, which was at the school next door, Westglades Middle, and just a really precarious, like, kind of, you know, offish guy.
Did you know anything about his family? Did they say anything about his upbringing, other siblings, problems at home, or was he just a social pariah? Nobody talked to him, and he was really isolated.
As far as I know, this man was a very isolated person socially. He did not interact with many people. From what I've heard from a few of my fellow students, he seemed to have a somewhat messed up personal life. At home, he had a rough personal life, and that's as far as I know. And I've heard that from multiple people. But
there were other reports, David, that he had threatened, at least kind of jokingly, that I could take all of you out, or I could take some of you out. And he knew, obviously, the layout of the school. He knew the drills, the evacuation drills. He was up on that third floor when the alarm was pulled. He pulled the alarm. So he knew the layout. He knew where people would have to go, correct?
Exactly. And the amazing thing is, because of the heroic and, well, more or less, for the actions taken by the Broward County schools to make it a more safe school in past months in response to all of these mass shootings at schools that we shouldn't have to deal with but sadly do, they've trained all of the teachers recently to lock all of the doors and make sure, in case a horrifying incident like this happens, we're as safe as we can be. And luckily, because of those actions, I think that training saved hundreds of lives today, if not thousands.
Are there any school officials, or other than like maybe a security guard, who are armed inside the school that you know of?
As far as I know, there is a school resource officer that I believe is armed. But I didn't hear much about him or anything that he did during this event. Obviously, I'm sure he was doing all he could. But as far as I know, I haven't heard much about him. But I'm sure the media knows more than I do.
Tell us about that gazebo area where certain kids sit in the lunchroom. It was called Owen's Gazebo or something like that, where kind of some of the outcasts sit. I was reading about that he wasn't even welcome in that area, where kind of some of the, you know, it was in social media, but some of the freaks in school sit because they're not accepted in the rest of the school. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so he sat in an area that sadly many students refer to as, I'm not going to say it on TV, but it's an area where very unique kids like sit, and children that are interested in things that are more like extracurricular and outside of school and have amazing interests and are just as valuable as any other student at this school. They're just unique individuals that have interesting aspirations. But the fact that he was outcasted by those people, I would say it doesn't say a lot, but it does say a lot, because here at Stoneman Douglas High School, we like to accept everyone for who they are. We like to bring everyone in and just embrace who they are. And sadly, with this person, he didn't feel that way. He didn't feel accepted, and that may have been part of the reason why he did this horrible atrocity that should never have happened.
Isolated. In one case, he described himself as being bullied. Did you hear anything about that he was bullied by one particular individual and that he was going to get him? Did you hear anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about bullying, but I can tell you that from what I've heard, he does seem like an individual that would have had a rough time in school based off of some of his previous actions, like just interesting and weird comments made to people like around him, certain students, even one of his tutors that, yeah, just
what was
really
the comment,
interesting stuff
David?
that
What was
he's
the
been
comment?
doing.
Yeah, what was that comment?
It was actually, I don't want to go on, this person told me not to tell anyone.
Well, you don't have
but
to
the comment
identify.
was
You don't
very
have to
crude
identify
and
anybody. But what was the comment? Don't identify the name, but
Okay.
what did he say?
The comment was the comment was a request for sexual relations with a student. And it was very awkward, according to them.
Yeah, and obviously rejected. So, David, incredibly poised delivery of information tonight, and our emotions
can I say
are with
one more
you.
thing to the audience?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want this to be another mass shooting. I don't want this just to be something that people forget. This is something that people need to look at and realize that there is a serious issue in this country that we all need to face. It's an issue that affects each and every one of us, and if you think it doesn't, believe me, it will, especially if we don't take action to step up and stop things like that. For example, going to your congressman and asking them for help and doing things like that.
David, thank you so much. We really appreciate your words tonight, and our prayer